Boing. Holy crap. Ghost Fragment, The Last Word. I'm writing this from memory, some mine, but not all. The facts won't sync with the reality, but they'll be close, and there's no one to say otherwise, so for all intents and purposes, this will be the history of a settlement we called Palamon, and the horrors that followed an all too brief peace. I remember home, and the stories of a paradise we'd all get to see someday, of a city shining even in the night. Palamon didn't shine, but it was a sanctuary of a sort. We'd settled in the heart of a range that stretched the horizon, wooded mountains that shot with purpose toward the sky. Winters were harsh, but the trees and peaks hid us from the world. We talked about moving on sometimes, striking out for the city, but it was just a longing. Drifters came and went. On occasion they would stay, but rarely. We had no real government, but there was rule of law, basic tenets agreed upon by all and eventually overseen by Magistrate Loken. And there you have it. No government, until there was. I was young, so I barely understood. I remember Loken as a hard-working man who just became broken. Mostly I think he was sad and frightened. As his fingers tightened on Palamon, people left. Those who stayed saw our days became gray. Loken's protection from the fallen, from ourselves, became dictatorial. Looking back, I think maybe Loken had just lost too much. Of himself, of his family, but everyone lost something. And some of us had nothing to begin with. My only memory of my parents is a haze, like a daydream, and a small light, like the spark of their souls. It's not anything I dwell on. They left me early, taken by dregs. Palamon raised me from there. The family I called my own, cared for me as if I was their natural-born son. And life was good, being the only life I knew. My judgment is skewed, and it wasn't easy, pocked by loss as it was, but I would call it good. Until, of course, it wasn't. Until two men entered my world, one a light, the other the darkest shadow I would ever know. Ghost Fragment, Thorn. The Rose. The nobleman stood, and the people looked to him, for he was a beacon, hope given form, yet still only a man, and within that truth there was great promise. If one man could stand against the night, then so too could anyone. Everyone. In his strong hand the man held a rose, and his aura burned bright. When the man journeyed on, the people remembered. In his wake hope spread. But the man had a secret fear. His thoughts were dark. A sadness crept from the depths of his being. He had been a hero for so long, but pride had led him down sorrow's road. Slowly the shadow's whisper became a voice, a dark call, offering glories enough to make even the brightest light wander. He knew he was fading, yet still he yearned. On his last day he sat and watched the sun fall. His final thoughts, pure of mind if not body, held to a fleeting hope. Though they would suffer for the man he would become, the people would remember him as he had been. And so the nobleman hid himself beneath the darkness no flesh should touch, and gave up his mortal self to claim a new birthright. Whether this was choice or destiny was a truth known only to fate. In that cool evening air, as dusk was devoured by night, the nobleman ceased to exist. In his place another stood. Same meat, same bone, but so very different. The first and only of his family, the sole forebearer and last descendant of the name Yor. In his first moments as a new being, he looked down at his rose and realized for the first time that it held no petals, only the jagged purpose of angry thorns. Ghost Fragment, The Last Word 2. The man I would come to know as Jaren Ward, my third father and quite possibly my closest friend, came to Palamon from the south. I was just a boy, but I'll never forget his silhouette on the empty trail as he made his slow walk into town. I'd never seen anything like him. Maybe none of us had. He'd said he was only passing through, and I believed him, I still do, but life can get in the way of intent, and often does. I can picture that day with near-perfect clarity. Of all the details, though, every nuance, every moment, the memory that sticks in my mind is the iron on Jaren's hip, a cannon that looked both pristine and lived in, like a relic of every battle he'd ever fought, hung low at his waist, a trophy, and a warning. This man was dangerous, but there was a light about him, a pureness to his weight, that seemed to hint that his ire was something earned, not carelessly given. I'd been the first to see him as he approached, but soon most of Palamon had turned out to greet him. My father held me back as everyone stood in silence. Jaren didn't make a sound behind his sleek racer's helmet. He looked just like the heroes in the stories, and to this day I'm not sure, one way or the other, if the silence between the townspeople and the adventurer was born of fear or respect. I like to think the latter, but any truth I try to place in the moment would be of my own making. As we waited for Magistrate Loken to arrive and make an official greeting, my patience got the best of me. I shook free of my father's heavy hand and made the short sprint across the court, stopping a few paces from where this new curiosity stood, a man unlike any other. I stared up at him and he lowered his attention to me, his eyes hidden behind the thick tinted visor of his headgear. My sight quickly fell to his sidearm. I was transfixed by it. I imagined all the places that weapon had been, all the wonders it had seen, the horrors it had endured. My imagination darted from one heroic act to the next. I barely registered when he began to kneel, holding out the iron as if an offering, but my eyes locked onto the piece, mesmerized. I recall turning back to my father and seeing the looks on the faces of everyone I knew. There was worry there. My father slowly shaking his head as if pleading with me to ignore the gift. I turned back to the man I would come to know as Jaren Ward, the finest hunter this system may ever know and one of the greatest guardians to ever defend the Traveler's light. And I took the weapon in my hand, carefully, gently. Not to use, but to observe, to imagine, to feel its weight and know its truth. That was the first time I held Last Word, but unfortunately, not the last. Ghost Fragment, Thorn 2, The Bloom. Type, transcript, description, conversation. Parties, 4. 3 unidentified, U1, U2, U3. 1 unconfirmed. Associations, Breaklands, Durga, Last Word, Malphur, Shin, North Channel, Palamon, Thorn, Veller, Ward, Jaren, WOS, Yor, Dredgen. Audio unavailable. Transcript follows.
Can I see what you got there? Your cannon, can I see it?
I know you.
Not that I can say.
And you want to hold my peace?
Just that I never seen one like it.
No, you haven't.
Looks dangerous.
Seems maybe that's the point.
Suppose so. Can I see it?
Not likely.
Where'd you find it? You hearing me?
He asked you a question.
Didn't find it. Made it.
Hell of a touch you got then. You a smith?
I look like a smith?
Looks can be deceiving.
Got that right.
There a problem?
Doesn't need to be.
Glad we got that cleared up. Now, about that piece.
Been to Luna?
Excuse me?
The moon. You been?
Nobody's been.
That a truth?
That's a fact.
Funny you'd make that distinction.
Truth is, you must think you're some kind of something special with that attitude. The way you're just dismissing us like we're nothing. Like we ain't even here. Fact, you ain't near as rock solid as you figure. Fact is, special's only special till it's not.
The bones say otherwise.
Speak straight.
You say nobody. Bones say otherwise.
What bones?
All of them.
What are you getting at?
Too many to count.
You're trying to get a rile out of us. Was only making conversation.
You really weren't. We got a smart one here. Experienced more than smart, but experience has its advantages.
Experience tell you to lip off to strangers just trying to make talk.
Keep insisting and maybe we will.
Talk?
Have words.
Ain't that what we're doing?
My conversations tend to be a bit louder.
That a threat?
A truth.
Who the hell you think you are?
According to your facts, nobody. Yet, here I sit.
Don't matter much how pretty your cannon is. You keep it up, we'll see just how loud you like to get. You done talking now? Guess he knows his place, boys.
Ever have a nightmare?
You playing games? Or just thick?
I know you have. This world can't help but.
I don't have nightmares. I give 'em.
You are a goddamn cliche. The picture-perfect bandit. Hearing your voice, the things you're saying, the shade of the hard man you pretend to be.
Ain't no shade.
Sit down. Sit down. Your mouth just got your friends dead. This is what happens when you bore me, and right now, I am so very bored.
What? No, listen. But, you're one of them. A guardian, right? You're supposed to be One of the good ones.
Supposed to be? Maybe I am. Maybe this is what good looks like. Any more, who can tell? You wanted to see my prize.
No,
Look at it. Whimpering won't stop what comes next. Look. Look at it. Open your eyes. Not many get such a clean view. The bone, you see it, jagged, like thorns. I used to think of it as a rose, focusing on its bloom. But the bloom is just a byproduct of its anger. You have nightmares? Ever seen a nightmare? Ever opened your eyes and realized the horror wasn't a dream, the terror wasn't gone? I've seen nightmares. They live in the shadows. They've been watching. I thought, it's foolish, I know, but I thought I saw a way. That maybe we could win. Maybe we could survive. But once you step into those shadows, it's so very hard to walk in the light. Or maybe I just wasn't strong enough. Maybe. But I feel strong now. I stole the dark. Or maybe it stole me. Either way, here we are. And I'm hungry. It's hungry. You have no light beyond the spark of your pathetic life. But a spark is something. Open your eyes.
End transcript.